What's going on, world? It's your boy Gemini Brown here, back with another episode of Nalo Kicking Knowledge. Today, we'll be discussing the brutal truth about what each Venus sign has to let go of in order to grow and attract better relationships. So, let's get into it. So the first sign that I want to start here with is Venus in Aries. Of course, we have Saturn and Neptune in Aries right now, and this is a really transformative period for anyone who has Aries energy. So one thing that is attached to Aries energy that is definitely a strength, but if not tempered, like an uncontrollable flame, it can do more harm than good. And that's recklessness. And recklessness lends itself to impatience. So in order for Venus and Aries to really grow, become more magnetic, you have to be emitting an energy in which others feel like they're solving problems with you or being around you rather than acquiring more. Others feel a certain sense of protection from you rather than, oh, if I tell them something they don't like, it may be an argument. Okay, so if you're Venus in Aries and you natively have some squares, let's say maybe a square to Mars, maybe a square to Pluto, you'll really want to check yourself in how your energy comes across, because it can omit a certain type of dysfunction or malefic nature. And then another thing I'll say with Venus and Aries is really important in order to grow and evolve. You got to have a sense of who you are and how to apply your overall individuality. Of course, that'll be seen by what your sun sign is, what your ascendant is, but the Venus and Aries anchors that individuality. So you need to be showing up for your passions in an Aries-like way, with confidence, with a certain certainty that'll help you attract and grow. In order for Venus in Taurus to grow, particularly in this day and age, it's fairly essential that they have their financial portfolio or just finances in general together. Whether it's man or woman, this is a sign that carries insecurity when they are not financially fluid. Financial stability for them a lot of times equals overall stability. And then this will also lend itself to stability within career. And if, Venus and Taurus can find stabilities in those areas, it'll allow them to just overall emit more consistency within partnerships with others and all of that. There is a part of this, right, depending on where you are in your journey and how things are just shaping out. You may need assistance in order to grow financially. This could be from your partner, but what will occur here with Venus and Taurus to grow, there may be a point where, as with all fixed signs, you'll be forced to confront your pride rather than isolate yourself until you have things together. Really allow yourself to learn or be helped by other loved ones. So that's a deep food for thought, but your willingness to grow financially, to maintain stability, particularly emotionally, increases your ability to attract and really does help you grow. And in order to grow, sometimes, you got to communicate, Gemini, the help that we need. Really interesting one here. Venus in Gemini. Now, in order to grow here, there has to be a deeper emotional depth and intelligence. And I'm just going to be honest. I've seen a stark difference with the men and women with this position. If you're a dude out there with Venus and Gemini, you should really seek to understand if you emit the proper emotional, intelligence. And how can you improve emotional intelligence? Listening, being compassionate, not being so much in your head or superficial, about things. This is also a position that I found, if the Venus and Gemini gets to a point where they're scattered and it's like, there's so many options, I don't know what to do, they kind of lose a certain sense of self-value, hence the Taurus in the 12th place. So just like with Venus and Aries, another masculine Venus sign, there's a need to really have an identity intellectually, okay, that'll lend itself in other areas, that'll make you more interesting, have more to say, and overall more depth. So the more you know yourself, the deeper it'll allow you to know others. But as Venus in Gemini, you just can't get comfortable with being on the surface. Venus in Cancer, this is key right now because Venus is transiting Cancer as we speak, and Jupiter is in Cancer as well. Growth here lies outside of your comfort zone. I could say that like 5 more times. So I'll say it one more time. Growth for Venus in Cancer lies outside of your comfort zone. Now, this is the dope part about my kind of astrology, knowing that the context matters, particularly with someone with Cancer energy. Cancer deals with the family you come from. How are you conditioned? What is your culture? That creates your comfort zone. In this day and age, we got the Quincunx going with Pluto in Aquarius and Cancer here. I see a major point of growth for all Cancer-like people. It lies within your 4th house area, your connection with your environment. And for some, you may need a new environment. That's up to you. But the Aquarius influence says things are different. We need to innovate. We need to step outside, think outside the box, live outside the box. So the next point of growth for a Venus in Cancer is opening up more emotionally towards a wider range of expressions. Like kind of just saying, like, if you're Venus in Cancer, you're like, I'm sensitive. Okay, you can't just always be sensitive. That may result in times where you need to be courageous. You revert back into being just sensitive and maybe not taking the needed action. So those are some ways Venus in Cancer can really grow. Venus in Leo, my people, you grow from owning the spotlight within yourself. You are the star of your own show. And your ability to cultivate that Venus energy within yourself of love, what you love to do, living a spirited life, sends out that magnetic force to others, right? That bring in the people you attract. So if you're a Venus in Leo and you're not satisfied, or I'll use this word, unentertained or uninspired by the people you attract, it's likely you haven't or are not cultivating your inner Leo, because the idea is that when you have cultivated within yourself, the others you attract get to admire that. And it's less about you seeking the inspiration from them, but rather radiating it because you are ruled by the sun. So deep food for thought. That, like I said, with all fixed signs, the growth lies within ego, okay? Ego and pride. Like figuring out how to get the things that the ego wants within the realm of understanding what sacrifices need to be made to do so. So there's like a humbleness. And I recently wrote an article about this. Take it from someone with Leo energy. The more you humble yourself, the more grace invites itself into your life. And if you got a good heart, you're going to meet good people. That's all I'll say. Venus in Virgo, this is a really good one. This is one where you really can't follow the cliches all the time, but within the cliches are some real shit. Let me explain. The first thing I want to say with Venus in Virgo is naturally this is an analytical, mental sign. Depending on aspects and positions, they can be prone to over analyzing, being nitpicky, although this seems to be more of a Mars and Virgo thing. Venus and Virgo, you don't want to think yourself out of harmony or love. You want to embody harmony through a routine, through practical efforts, things that make you feel good. This is a sign that more than others, you gotta date when you're feeling good about yourself. Because if you're insecure about things, the relationship is only gonna kind of magnify your thoughts on them. Okay, so that's more of like the cliche one, where yeah, these guys can be overthinkers, but when you get on top of your thoughts and you just ground yourself, things improve. You see clearer. The next part of Venus in Virgo that I've discovered, they're a bit distrustful. A lot of them have relationships with others that kind of reinforce this. The simple thing to say here is that part of building and learning intimacy and integrating into balanced, harmonious relationships is learning to trust. At some point, we can't always get it right. There are going to be times where it's like, dang, I'm trusting the situation. Could be right, could be wrong. As a Venus in Virgo, you don't want to get caught up in not making a mistake. Okay, you more so just want to be able to flow. Venus in Libra. This is one where I'm giving you a clue here, right? So Venus in Libra is the sign of others. And I've told you in other videos I've made, Libra energy tends to always be a little messy, having exes around and all of that. A point of growth for a Libra, and I'm sure many other people can relate to this, is when you really cut certain relationships off, or just the access you allow others to you or your relationship. That's a huge factor of growth for a Venus in Libra. On a more personal level, if the Venus in Libra is taking things in their life more serious, by virtue of magnetism, others are going to want to take them more serious. So it'll allow them to attract not just harmonious relationships, but Saturn-like ones with good foundation and longevity. But that's a big contingent on how one is expressing their own Venus energies. So Venus in Scorpio, this is another placement that inspired me to make this video. I love when I'm counseling with someone or just talking to anybody and they say a really honest thing. And it could be like this. For any Venus in Scorpio, this is going to be an advice. We know you're intense, but we got to learn to dial down the intensity because we don't want to drown anybody, right? You are a water sign, and it's come into these waters, but that intensity, others may not always be able to swim at that pace. So for any Venus in Scorpio, you got to learn that. It's not that I can't be intense. I just got to know when to and how to express it. But there's certain times where Venus and Scorpio be like, yeah, but I don't want to be balanced. I just want to go hard. So I think it's important to just really acknowledge that with Venus, it deals with others, right? We're talking and focusing on the relationship aspect, but it also deals with personal creativity, things we love to do. There's a lesson within all Venus signs, but particularly Scorpio, is that transmuting that intensity away from your relationship with another or others and more into things that you are personally passionate about will make a world of change. Okay, keyword, transmutation, right? So we may want to just be this way or, love this person how we want to love them, but maturity is understanding the best way to love. And how I say this, or we even say most effective, right? There's an advice, this goes for all signs. I've learned this, as someone with a Venus in Leo, romance isn't everything. And intensity in romance isn't always the best consistently done. Just like life, relationships are best experienced with certain ebbs and flows of, let's say, emotional intensity versus, platonic relating. All of that creates balance. So I think anybody out there who's experienced like a relationship that started really intense and you just allowed it to be intense, it fizzled out quick. So that's a real wisdom to take with you no matter what sign you are. So then we got Venus in Sagittarius. This one is kind of simple, and only Sagittarius are really going to understand this. In order to grow, you got to take the relationship or others a little bit more serious. I'm going to use another word, like you have to be willing to commit to some extent, enforce relational boundaries, right? Or we could say a foundation. So put it like this. A Venus in Sag can be a really great partner and have, great relationships, especially if the synastry is hitting, if they respect the partnership enough to do or show up consistently how they need to. The Sagittarius archetype kind of tends to like come and go. But if they can anchor themselves in rhythm and consistency, this is where you get true expansiveness with openness and freedom. Okay, so food for thought there. Growth occurs when you get serious about commitment. Sag will be a sign that wants commitment but doesn't give it full thought. It's like, oh, it'll happen and then I'll know. Venus in Capricorn. So in order for Venus in Capricorn to grow, they need to let go of not knowing what they want. Now, I'll admit, this is the sign that kind of tends to know what it wants. But if you're out there, Venus in Capricorn, it's important for you to establish your standard. Now, here's the next part. Once you establish that standard, you want to make sure you're reflecting that energy in some compatible way. So if you're someone who aims high within relationship, what do you emit that can complement someone of that vibration? It's as simple as that. So you want to have your standards and you want to work in your own right towards omitting that signal that allows you to attract what you're seeking. Another thing that I'll add with Venus and Capricorn is similar to what I was saying about Sag. There's a certain responsibility that comes with adult relationships or relationships that you hope to have longevity. So there's a certain etiquette or integrity, Capricorn, that we have to approach our relationships with. Or another great word, respect. Venus in Aquarius. I'll say this. In order for this position to grow, you have to let go of what you resist when it comes to Venus-like things, whether that be how you show up as a masculine or feminine, because Aquarius is designed to rebel. So the fact of the matter is, if society says relationships should go like this, a Venus in Aquarius, whether consciously or unconsciously, tries to go against that. So it boils down to this thing with the Aquarius archetype. You want to be a rebel with a cause rather than a rebel without one. If you're rebelling for the sake of rebelling, you're going to repel more than you attract. There is a certain sacrifice Venus in Aquarius has to make in order to be in a partnership of harmony and somewhat tradition. Venus in Pisces. I encourage all of you to reach out to me because I'm a Venus in the 12th and I really understand the position very well. In order for a Venus in Pisces to grow, there's several things that it can do, but I want to give you this direct example. When you see the red flag, acknowledge it. And maybe acknowledging the red flag means cutting the person off. But I can guarantee you, the faith and the magic connected to that position will allow the universe to bring you someone else who is in greater alignment with what you're seeking. It's really that simple. Everyone always says with Venus and Pisces and that Neptunian influence, rose-colored glasses. Cool, but at some point, you're going to be seeing perfectly fine out of those rose-colored glasses, and you have to acknowledge what you're seeing. And if you can ground what you're seeing in truth or reality, it gets better. But sometimes that deals with having to end one thing in order to arrive at the proper destination. So another thing that Venus and Pisces can do in order to grow and attract better is become grounded in some area of their life, whether that be through career, whether that be through family, but somewhere that allows you to really put your focus, your imagination, and that Pisces energy of dream power, okay? So remember, Venus in Pisces is a gift. It's an exalted position, and you really can have the things that you desire, but it's all about getting into the proper alignment to receive it, all right? So y'all, I hope y'all enjoyed. Comment, let me know what you think. Show the channel some love. Share this with your loved ones. If you need a reading, check out my website, GeminiBrown.com. Till next time.
The blood clots. Peace to the gods. Nah, eat the shit. Yo. It's a full moon tonight, I'm pouring brandy, celebrating life in the Benz from a Camry. Morgan with the Stanley, now they understand me. Bout the biz, left my Liz, word to Randy. I'm in the pocket, plugged in like a socket from Con Ed. All of my hitters, they got bread. I'm in a hookah bar with a hoochie bra, bumping coupe de bra. She bout to show me what it's hitting for if things go left before they go right. Just the reason that becomes life. I dare you try and test my spurt. Call it the reposado. Bar stay intact, strapped just like a desperado. Been here before, back on another mission. Mercury on the menu, plentiful, soul vision. I glisten like diamonds in Sierra Leone. They say I stink of success, call it the best cologne. I roam, new year tight litty. Nalo got now, ride around the city with the top down. I got the crown and I'm with the guard going. Always in motion, so we stay flowing. You know it.
Gee, mate, what do you want to do tonight?
The same thing we do every night, Pinky. Try to take over the world.
I put the M in the MC, master of ceremonies, metaphysics with the consciousness, mashing any components or opponents, thirst for blood, looking for any donors, murder rappers, hunting monsters with Scooby, man, we some stoners in the mystery machine, even Daphne be trying to bone us, Velma chill, I'm with Badu, Tyrone couldn't even clone us, in Queens making chess moves, no one could overthrow us, it's a no-fly zone over here where it's the coldest, it's Wakanda, nigga, tell Nala go get the soldiers, we protect and not perfection, can't let them know where the gold is. I hit them with a mad just to tell them who the gold is. It's 2020 vision just to let them know we focus. 2030 stamp, the God's back, no ramping. Get your Tim strapped, the God's back to stomp them. Benjamin stacked, the God's back in action. I'm ahead of my time, brought some Czar back to Franklin. Red and meth know how the thing go. How high a ghost told me to win, bro. Beat the odds up the score, get a window. Kick them little niggas out like a Winslow.
Did I do that?
Why don't you ever knock?
Well, if I did, nobody would ever let me in.
Gods,